I mean, it seems that he's being protected, and how come every time the Democrats start surging ahead, and the Bush boys, they need a boogeyman, all of a sudden Bin Laden comes up with another tape. All of a sudden he's addressing the American people again. It's as if that Bin Laden needs the Bush people, and the Bush people need in order for both of them to exist.
Well, Tommy, I've got quite a few video guys here in my office. A couple of them have degrees in it. And we had blown up from the news, the original source videos, these different Bin Laden tapes. And we had noticed, because you can see in the pixelation when you blow them up, you can blow it as big as you want, down to per pixel, filling up the screen, that they were laying in the Al-Qaeda supposed watermarks in at the same time as the Intel Center and others. And then later a top video analyst told Wired Magazine, he put it out and showed it with his program, that indeed it was the same. And he got pressured to say, well, it's inconclusive. But we already had caught them from government servers uploading the original Al-Qaeda videos. And then right when we saw on the eve of the war, when Colin Powell, Secretary of State, before the UN and then before Congress, he says, yeah, Bin Laden works with Saddam Hussein, which is admitted fraud. And he said, yeah, Bin Laden's put out a new tape agreeing to that. And the media all ran out and came back and said it hadn't been released yet. And he said, oh, it'll be in a few hours. They even got their time zones wrong, just like they were announcing Lee Harvey Oswald had killed JFK before he'd even been arrested and his name was out. That was in the New Zealand and Australian and foreign papers. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's all orchestrated, yeah, and that's why that was probably the main reason that they railroaded me into prison. Made me become a felon. Because I realized, I was on talk radio like I'm on now, and I was just speaking my mind, and I was happened to be in St. Louis, where Ashcroft and the boys are at, and they love me on this talk radio. It was a very right wing talk show, and I happened to be on that show, speaking my mind. And the thing is, man, it's so orchestrated, it's such a dance that even the right wing people, that spout all this crap, they don't believe it. They're just following the party line. Just what they're going. They're just going and saying what they're told to say.
Well, and you're right, the phony right wing likes to have a snack or something to show the public. Oh, look, we even got Tommy Chong. They love that because it creates fear. And you've got, 20-something states that have passed laws legalizing marijuana. So the feds come in and say, no, you can't do that. And what? Kevin Booth always brings up the number, and I've seen it in the government's own numbers. 87% of drug users only smoke marijuana. Their drug war, their fraud is over if they don't have marijuana to persecute.
Oh yeah. Well, the marijuana is just a thinly disguised racist law that the government is just everybody in government, including the black Republicans, all of them. They have no idea what a Jim Crow, what a racist law that they're supporting. Because they're so ignorant about it.
Well, what about how a 15-year-old black kid that has a tenth of a gram will get 5-10 years in prison for cocaine, but a lawyer can have 50 times that amount? The laws are even written to go after minorities.
Oh, totally. I just read this recently. They busted a methamphetamine lab, and what they did, they found chemicals, and what they did. The government broke down the chemicals into hits, and so they come up with some ridiculous number like 25 million hits of methamphetamine, and you get your sentence depends on how much drugs that you're dealing.
And so now it's not just drugs; it's the precursor chemicals they're trying to claim.
That's it.
You get prison time for it.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is, and they got the time. They got these people who got. I'm not a meth fan at all. And it's horrible.
Speed kills.
It's terrible. I've seen it in prison. A lot of them in there, recuperating from the effects of it. But the kind of time that these guys get, it's mind-boggling because compared to the crimes that are committed by so-called right wing. Where they're. Well, you look at what Bush has done, and all these guys. They violated the very. The Bible. They swore to uphold the Constitution. They put their hand on the Bible and a hand on their heart, and they swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And then they went out and systematically violated that Constitution that they did, and by. And that's what they did. That's the only oath that you have to, that if they wanted to impeach or imprison any of these guys, that's all you have to show. You just have to show them, being sworn into office, because that's why they swear these people into office.
Well, you're right.
Yeah, that's why law enforcement, they have to swear to uphold the laws. And when they get caught, they do serious time. So it's a matter of time before these guys are going to get caught.
Well, Tommy Chong, if we just step back and look at a taser death every day, and then taser sues the medical examiners and doctors and says you can't say that our taser is killing people even though they die right after they're shocked. Yeah. If we look at how they're putting people in jail for now falling asleep at their desk, first offense in school. If we look at how they treat us and yell at us now, I remember 10 years ago, if there was a wreck on the road, the cops would wave you around and wouldn't smile at you, but now they'll just scream at you like you're scum. It's like government's turned into mad dog maniacs.
Oh, it's terrible. Well, when I was incarcerated, they had what it was called valley fever warning. I don't know if I talked about this last time, but anyway, what it is, when the wind picks up in the desert, the jail is in the desert. Something happens, I think, because they built the jail over some toxic waste dumps, and the air is toxic, and people that have been incarcerated, they develop some of it's a wasting disease where you start off at like 180 pounds and you're down to 130, like a skeleton. There's people that look like they're in Auschwitz death camps. And when I was in there, this one victim of this valley fever was dying in his bunk, and no one would help him. The guards wouldn't help him. Nobody would come to his aid, and the prisoners can't, And finally, he was going to die. He knew he was going to die, so he staggered up himself. He stood up. He was on the second floor, and he staggered to the stairs. And then they put him in a little jeep, and they took him over to the main hospital, and he died the next morning. And then they cremated his body immediately. No autopsy, no notifying next of kin, nothing. They just.
Yeah, we're living in a giant death camp. I have all the government documents where they just take and poison and kill and sterilize all the natives on reservations, still ongoing. It's all eugenics. The public thinks that I'm like sometimes exaggerating. I'm not. It's so bad you can't even explain it to people. It is so monstrous, Tommy.
I know. I saw it firsthand. That's why they asked me, the inmates in there, they had a Christmas show, and they wanted me to perform at it, and I was going to. And then I started thinking about it. I'm in jail. I don't have any rights at all. And if I were to get up and just say the wrong anything, or even the fact
they'll kill you.
I got up. I'm at risk. Because they can even expose you to that valley fever thing. They can leave you.
Tommy, let me tell you, it's not at Huntsville. It's all admitted, and they do biological chemical weapons test at thousands of the prisons. The guards even get sick and die from it. And believe me, sir. In fact, if you want, I can send you some news articles on it. It's probably something else going on there at the facility. What you just described, a lot of government weapons testing going on.
It could be. Yep.
Now, I want to go to Kevin Booth in there because time flies so fast now. You've really been gracious to give us all this time, Tommy. But getting back into 9/11, not just all the evidence of how criminal elements of the government did it, but the way they've profited, the way they've had trillions in no-bid contracts, trillions, $3 trillion now. The way they've taken our freedom, the way they've shifted our economy over into police state. Can you speak to that?
Well, you think about it. Who owns Bush? The Saudis. So it goes into it goes right into the international field, and people, and they throw they throw John McCain in front of your face, just to almost as if they're flaunting it. They've got that. But here, we talk about the horrors of these people. Like Hitler. It took Hitler a lot more years than just the war years. Hitler was he came up through the ranks, and he was very innovative as far as knowing how to have people get afraid, and then finding a boogeyman for these people, and that's what it is. You have to find the hippies. You have to find at one time it was the blacks, and now it's the Hispanics.